Okay, so welcome to Taco Tuesday with Gunny. Told you guys I would bring y'all some tacos for y'all to go ahead and figure out. So today I'm making the tacos, and we're gonna have a fajita style a beef fajita style taco, right? Um, so I already pre-marinated this thing, and again, my kitchen gets used a lot, so it's not pretty. I'm not here to go ahead and this isn't a cooking show. This is me trying to share some simple recipes for some individuals trying to experience some good tacos, especially if you're not here in Houston, you're missing out. But right to the point. So get yourself some skirt style steak, right? We're gonna go ahead and incorporate in a pan. Once you take it out, I always clean my meat. I don't care if it's chicken, steak, anything. I always run it through some water. I cut all the fat off of it on the back end, some of that silver skin on the back of the skirt steak. And yeah, I create a marinade consisting of lime juice or lemon juice, jalapenos, fresh garlic. We're gonna add some paprika, a little bit of adobo. I'm a big fan of using beef bouillon. It kind of punches up that beef flavor a little bit. Salt, pepper, black pepper, and I'm a big fan of peppercorn pepper, right? So like I highly recommend peppercorn. I don't know, it's a texture thing where it kind of like livens up the flavors in the meat, especially when it marinates. A little bit of and a little bit of white pepper as well. Another nice punch to the entire process. So we've got garlic, we've got jalapeno, we've got red onion minced up as well in the marinade, lime juice or lemon juice, whichever you decide, paprika, salt, adobo, beef bouillon, white pepper, peppercorn, black pepper. So you pretty much mix that up a little bit. I always go ahead and just kind of taste it to taste. I don't know measurements, but ultimately what happens is your meat comes out. It's gonna look like this, right? So right now I've already got this freaking already out thawed from yesterday when I put it in the fridge. I'm gonna throw it on the griddle.
He said that he want to invite Adam maybe, and he want to invite Diego.
Y'all, this ration's
No. All right. And that's how I make beef fajita tacos, right? So I do my own thing, got a Caribbean twist to all of my recipes. So you'll see that throughout this entire process, but that's one pretty taco. All right, let's go ahead and take the taste test. Okay. I'm gonna eat another one. Hope you guys love the
I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
and here we go. Thank you. I hope you guys appreciated that. So that was officially the first actual true episode of Taco Tuesday with Gunny. Had the beef fajita tacos. There's a lot of individuals who've been asking me for a lot of my recipes for a long time. If they got a chance to jump on today, they finally got one of them, my beef fajita tacos. So first and foremost, let's be honest, man. Listen, the Jets just had an incredible victory this past Sunday. I don't care who you are as a Jets fan. I think the majority of it, majority of us assumed and or thought that game was over. And for them to come back in the fashion that they did, I mean, an incredible, incredible win. I'm still on cloud nine. I'm pretty sure the majority of you are still on cloud nine. I also just found out, again, compliments to my boy Nick Shine at proud New York Jets fan, that I made the cut when it came to establishing or showing my enthusiasm and excitement on Sunday. My wife and my daughter thought I had a great idea of picking up the security feed of my reaction to that win. I posted it. It kind of went viral, apparently. It feels kind of cool. And then the New York Jets kind of used that in one of their I guess, fan reaction montages over the weekend. But you know what? You've seen it 1,000 times by now. So let's jump right into it, man. Jump right into it. So tonight, I got a special guest. On board, right? So the New York – I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. The Baby Jets Oracle, or the Little Jets Oracle, is going to be joining us tonight to kind of break down exactly how he feels about this New York Jets win. He's been a Jets fan his entire life. One of the kids that I think has had like a lot more knowledge about the organization, the fan base, as well as the players, more so than a lot of adults. So without further ado, I'm bringing on my guest right now, the Little Jets Oracle.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I know it's late. You know what I'm saying? I know you out there in New York. Thank you for coming on to the show, talking Jets football with me, man. But let's just get right to it, man. Like, how do you feel about the most recent New York Jets win?
That was awesome.
Right.
Tie game going into the second half. We start to fumble the bag. A lot of flags, penalties, but coming back and winning it is just awesome.
Right? Like, so, okay, I got to ask this question, right? So I've been asking a lot of individuals. I've been asked this question a couple of times. Whenever you saw Nick Chubb get that touchdown with like 2 minutes or so left on the clock, and we were down 13 points when the kicker missed the field, like the extra point. How did that make you feel?
That I was surprised he didn't take it down, try to run out clock, but I saw that as hope, as there's a chance. 2 possession game. If we were able to pull something off, we can come out with this.
Okay. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I'll be one of those ones to admit that whenever I saw Nick Chubb score that touchdown, I saw the time. We had no timeouts. I mean, 2 possession game, a minute and 50 seconds or so, give or take. It seemed like a tall order. I actually chalked it up as a loss. I'll be the first to admit that personally, I wind up saying, you know what, it is what it is. Let's start looking at the positives. What did the Jets do good today, right? Okay, I started looking at the fact that we were able to move the ball offensively. Our defense didn't show up too good, but I had actually checked out thinking that the New York Jets had lost that game.
Yeah, that's I saw Garrett Wilson get involved a lot more. That was great. Because week one, he showed flashes, but Joe Flacco, Matt LaFleur, they finally got him going in the offense, and he just exploded. He did great. Brees Hall, great as well.
Yeah, it was kind of a rookie coming out party. I gotta admit, man. Like, you saw everybody get involved, from Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Michael Clemens, Jermaine Johnson. I mean, even Max Mitchell. I think he's not getting enough credit for holding his own against a pretty dominant defensive line in the Browns. He played well as well. How do you feel about Joe Flacco's performance?
Joe Flacco, 2 straight weeks, 300+ yards, 4 touchdowns. That's just unexpected, but very much needed.
Okay. Now, a lot of people were talking about how Joe Flacco had an incredible week last week, right? And personally, I'm not one of those guys who gave him credit for last week, because he got a lot of those yards and, of course, that touchdown in garbage time when the Baltimore Ravens decided to get into a prevent defense. Did you feel like Joe Flacco was capable of this kind of a performance after seeing him in week one and how he performed?
After week one, coming into week two, I really was not sure. But, the defense, they were playing soft in week one, so, that's where most of the yards came from. But him being able to do that against the Browns' defenses, it's good to see.
Okay. So, let's see here. I don't see any questions. I got a couple of guys. Yeah, I appreciate that, Bradley. Yeah, the tacos are pretty delicious. It's one of my go-to tacos whenever people are asking me to make tacos around here. What up, Gino? Hey, what's up, Cam? Proud New York Jets fan in the house. Braden, this is what's up. This is great, man. This is a much better show out than I had last week. I guess it's because this time I actually incorporated tacos in the process. I'm getting some more love. All right, boom, boom, boom. Cam, Mr. Fade, how you doing, man? How you doing? All right, so now with this game, man, what kind of a statement do you think it made in terms of the performance we saw from? I got to go back to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, to me, I think kind of made a statement this weekend, right? So what kind of statement do you believe Garrett Wilson made in terms of this win this weekend?
He really proved himself to be that 10th pick. I mean, him being able to do what he did against some great corners that the Browns have, he's well worthy of that 10th pick. And him being 10th overall, he had high expectations, and I think he solved them. Just all around amazing.
Okay. I got a question for you. So when you were looking at the draft, and you saw we had pretty much the option of picking any wide receiver on the board at that number 10 pick, did you want to go receiver, or was there another player in mind that you wanted other than receiver?
I like the idea of receiver, but Garrett Wilson wasn't my number one guy. I had Jameson Williams.
Okay. Can I ask you why you had Jameson Williams as your number one guy?
He hadn't played much in college because of injuries and whatever, but he's very versatile and he's very fast.
I'm gonna go ahead and admit the same thing, man. Like in all actuality, for me, I didn't have a first round grade on any of the wide receivers other than Jameson Williams. I'll be the first to admit that for me, I thought Drake London is significantly overrated. I still think right now it's just a matter of the Falcons haven't played some soft defenses, and they're going to go ahead and see that. Well, minus, of course, the Rams. But I think he's overrated, and as more teams get tape on him, he's going to go ahead and falter a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you, man. Jameson Williams was the only wide receiver I had that had a first-round grade. And the biggest reason was not only is he pristine when it comes to route running, I love his elite speed, man. That elite speed goes a long way in the NFL. You can't teach that. And out of all the wide receivers in this draft class, he was the one person that I felt brought something that garnered an elite trait, which is in fact his speed. But I'll be the first to also admit that I think I was wrong. I truly believe that my original assessment was incorrect because Garrett Wilson has balled out, man, and showed us that he is capable of not only producing at a high level, but wide receiver one net level. Like right now, I still believe that Elijah Moore is wide receiver one on our roster. But Garrett Wilson is making it very difficult for us to not look at him and think, man, he might overtake potentially Elijah Moore this season even. Whereas originally I thought it might take him a year or two before he got his feet underneath him. So what do you think about the wide receiver room right now that we currently have with the Jets?
I think it's great. There's a lot of depth with Berrios, and Mims has shown possibilities of being there, even though with everything that's been going on recently. We have depth, and then our main two guys, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, are able to get behind the defenses.
Okay. I think, man, in all actuality, when it comes to Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, we legitimately have two legitimate wide receiver ones like on our roster, which is insane to think, right? To think about where we came from a couple of years ago, where we were lacking across the board in terms of weapons. Even last year, injury plagued us so much that we had to depend on Keenan Cole to potentially be a starter for us, last year. And now you're talking about a bench that goes as deep as a Denzel Mims, who I still believe is a guy with which uber talented. You can't teach size, you can't teach speed. He can do both. I know right now he's a little bit frustrated in terms of not getting more playing time, but when you look at the depth and talent we have in that wide receiver room, it's a great problem to have. So are you an advocate for us trading Denzel Mims, or do you want to keep him?
I want to keep him because, I think he's got a lot of potential. And if we were to trade him, we need to be getting a good package in return.
Okay. So what kind of package do you think, would make sense for you if it came down to letting go of Denzel Mims?
If we drafted him in about mid to late second round, I would like at least maybe a fourth rounder and maybe an asset that on the line, a tackle, someone that could help us that we would like.
Okay. Is there a team you have in mind particularly that might be interested in Denzel?
Very possibly the Cowboys.
The
Cowboys and the Packers.
Ooh, good one. The Packers. I mean, yeah, you can see that Aaron Rodgers got a bit frustrated with that first week loss. They kind of bounced back pretty good, you know what I'm saying, in the second week. But in all actuality, in terms of their wide receiver room, and I'll come out and say, like, for me, Christian Watson was somebody that I looked at and I thought to me was a very, very valuable pick, potentially early second round, if we didn't go wide receiver in the first, and everybody else scooped up those guys who they felt were top tier wide receivers. But you're kind of seeing, like, right now that the game might be a little bit too fast for him, coming from a smaller school, and having had limited. I guess you can say limited exposure to the route tree. Yeah, he's struggling right now, even though he's 6'3", 215 pounds, and runs a 4.39 40. Big dude, real fast. I think they would be a good fit potentially for a guy like Denzel Mims, who's already got his feet underneath him in the NFL. The Cowboys is another good one. Like, you nailed it on the head. I think the Cowboys right now could use some assistance with the loss of course, Dak Prescott. The running game seems to be stagnant a little bit. So you're saying between those two teams, a fourth round pick and an offensive tackle. How do you feel about our safety position in the Jets room?
Safety, that's a tough one, because safeties we got Ashton Davis, LaMarcus Joyner. I mean, it's a little thin. Could use some help, but not exactly the main focus, because when I looked at week 1 and 2, I did not like what I saw from Max Mitchell. I mean, he stepped up as being one of the only guys there, but really,
Max Mitchell
was not impressed. Yeah.
Our offensive tackle?
Yeah, because we were talking about, like, the safeties, like, you get a safety for Mims or something, but, like, I would really like to address the tackle.
Okay.
That is.
What about Max Mitchell concerns you?
He's a rookie, and I just think, you get a guy like, when you see Myles Garrett switching sides, that's just, he's almost completely unmatched. Just really, and I would like to have a veteran presence there. So.
Okay. I mean, I'll play devil's advocate here. So I would say that I think from week 1 to week 2, we probably saw a bit of an increase in efficiency in terms of what the offensive line, produced.
Mm-hmm.
And I would wager to say that potentially a lot of times, man, when it comes to these schemes, that maybe it's the fact that these guys need to gel a little bit. And we just spent a lot of money on Dwayne Brown, who's on the IR right now. How would you feel if potentially, Dwayne Brown became that swing tackle when he comes off of IR?
If Dwayne Brown comes back, that would really help the line from where it is. And, him, he comes off in maybe how long? I forgot. But him being back would really help the line and the Jets offense.
Okay. I feel that. I mean, I think, so with Dwayne Brown, right? So this is where I'm at with it. So George Fant, I think, played significantly better, yesterday, mm-hmm. vice, week 1. I think the phantom freaking holding call that he got was just compliments of the 12th man, i.e. the referees for the actual Browns, trying to go ahead and take that game away from us, because that was just a ghost call, non-existent whatsoever. I think other than that, George Fant played very well. And as he's getting more reps, I think, in that left side, Dwayne Brown predominantly, or actually has only ever played, left tackle. I have now started to feel like perhaps we keep him as our swing tackle. Max Mitchell, I think, has shown us enough, at least in game 2. Now, I think what you're upset about or frustrated about, as most Jets fans are, was you're talking about when Jadeveon Clowney got that strip sack on Joe Flacco, kind of frustrating. Yeah. Like, so I took a different approach, right? A lot of Jets fans agree with you that was definitely on Max. But for me, I saw Joe Flacco not having enough pocket presence to go ahead and step up, and avoid that pressure, help that rookie out a little bit. And I think that as that gelling continues and begins, even Joe Flacco, hopefully we get Zach Wilson out there. And Zach Wilson obviously can go ahead and extend plays. And Max Mitchell, I mean, going up against that gauntlet of a defensive line, that I feel like with more repetition, this kid can potentially become a solid starter for us on the right side. I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowler. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying next to Elijah Vera-Tucker, who I think is a Pro Bowl right guard, having him at right tackle might not be too bad of a thing if we keep Dwayne Brown as that swing tackle or as that left tackle in case, of course, George Fant goes down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I totally agree with that.
Okay. So I got a question for you, man. So how do you feel about this upcoming game against Cincinnati?
Cincinnati, I mean, the week 1 performance, Joe Burrow was doing not great. and then until later in the game against the Steelers. But then week 2 against the Cowboys, their offense was non-existent. They were playing terrible, terrible football, and I think the Jets have an opportunity to take advantage of it and possibly get a win.
Okay. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I agree with you 1,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. In terms of watching, because all I've done now since we won the game on Sunday was not only watch that game like 3-4 more times since then, but I've also decided, okay, Cleveland's up next. Let's see what these guys are bringing to the table. Coach Saleh alluded to the fact that he believes they're still playing at Super Bowl caliber level and that they're still a force to be reckoned with, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's just coach speak for we're not going to sleep on these guys. We're going to still bring our A game because they made it to the Super Bowl last year. But in all actuality, what I saw was vastly different. I saw a scatterbrained Joe Burrow, who it's frustrating to me because I drafted him in like 5 fantasy football leagues, and he has not helped me out at all. So I'm a little bit salty in his performance as well. But I think what's most like surprising is how paper thin the offensive line has been. And I know we haven't seen a lot of hits from our defensive line. We haven't seen a lot of sacks. Like, we're waiting for it because we're talking about an elite defensive line. We kept freaking more individuals on the defensive line than any other position group. These guys are supposed to be the core of the defense. And I will say this: a lot of people gave some hate on our boy Carl Lawson over the weekend, but I'll say this: he had a 28% pressure rate, which was second in the NFL over the weekend. Like, I know we're not seeing this. He got the 1 sack. A lot of people want to see him hit people. I get that. But pressure rate is just as important as potentially getting a sack. And Carl Lawson balled out in that respect over the weekend. So with that said, understanding what that O-line looks like, I think this is the weekend. It's going to be the coming out party for the defensive line. I think those guys are going to feast, and I'm personally on board with thinking that the Jets can actually have these guys come into our house, and they can get another win to go 2-1. What about you?
I totally agree. Our defensive line can easily get past their crumbling O line. I mean, you got Jermaine Johnson, Quinnen Williams, guys that can just get right past the line. And then last year's performance, they made it to the Super Bowl. The Jets somehow, figured out a way to get past their defense. So I mean, we know we have experience against some of these guys.
Right.
So.
Look, man, I think you're getting some love in the chat, man. I see CM11NY11 really digging the special guest. Mr. Fade, same here. Aiden is cracked. I'm assuming that means good. I'm not up to with the lingo, so I'm assuming that means good. That's a good thing. Couple of individuals are coming through as well, talking about safeties being needed. So, okay, so the safety play, I think we can all agree, has been kind of lackadaisical. We saw 2 big plays given up in the last 2 games, which is concerning. We brought in Whitehead to potentially be somebody who can buffer that. Joyner made this roster. I personally was not a fan of that pick. And in terms of the safeties, like, how do you feel about the safety room in terms of the ones that actually made the roster by some of the guys we let go?
It was hard to let go some of the guys that we did because, I didn't really like what I seen from LaMarcus Joyner, and Ashton Davis is young, and Jordan Whitehead is just coming off a Bucks team with ran a very, very different defense from what the Jets do.
Right.
So it's just could have done better at the safety position.
Okay. So have you? I'm not gonna go ahead and be the guy that starts talking about freaking mock drafts. That's not the thing. But have you started looking at maybe some safeties and offensive tackles potentially in next year's draft?
Those are some of our main needs, but no, I have not.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to kind of see if you had a feel for somebody that we weren't tracking yet. So in order for the Jets to potentially win this weekend, why do you think is going to be a key aspect in order for that to happen?
We have to limit the turnovers, and we have to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, those are probably my 2 main concerns. And Jamar Chase, we can't let him cook our defense.
Yeah, man. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those guys are uber talented. I think it's going to be a tall order for our secondary, especially our young guy in Sauce Gardner, who started off strong. It seemed like this past week again, officially, knock on wood, no touchdowns have been placed on him. That TD by Amari Cooper was put on Whitehead. But in order for Sauce Gardner to match up and of course DJ Reed to match up with these guys, like what do you think they're going to have to do to go ahead and make sure that's a possibility?
They they really just can't let them get past them. They have to see, they have to pay attention with their safeties because Sauce's, last game with Jordan Whitehead, he just wasn't paying attention with where the safety was and have to watch out for where that receiver is going because one wrong move and he's gone.
Okay. All right. So then that's defensively. So what do you think we need to do offensively in order to keep up with these guys in case the defense doesn't show up?
Offensively, we have to match exactly what they're doing because they can on a good day they can put up many points, and we have to have Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, whoever we need them to step up and do exactly what they're doing. That we have to score.
Okay. Agreed. I think that in terms of their secondary, I feel we match up pretty well. I think what we've seen from Garrett Wilson right now is very promising. Actually, from Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore. I saw in the chat somebody else brought up that Elijah Moore was open as well, and 100% right. So Big Green brought the fact that Elijah Moore as well was open, and 100% agreed. Like if you go back and you watch this, in fact, I actually did my post game or recap earlier today, and in doing so, I actually added 2 pictures and videos of how open Elijah Moore got last week. And if you watch Elijah Moore getting open, but you watch Joe Flacco's eyes, it's like Joe Flacco knew where no matter what, he wanted to go to Garrett Wilson. He never looked Elijah Moore's way, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I hope Elijah Moore is a team player to understand that, we got the W, and he's going to get his opportunity as well to shine. But Elijah Moore did get open at will. Garrett Wilson gets open at will. Do you think Zach Wilson, when he comes back, can better utilize those 2 individuals than potentially Joe Flacco currently?
I do. I think he can because I like the connection between him and Elijah last year, and I want to see what he does with Garrett Wilson. But them two being main contributors of the offense and both getting open, no, he's gonna find either one of them, and it's gonna be great.
Okay. So I got to ask you a question, man. So all right. So I've been pretty vocal about the tight end improvement, the tight end being improved. One of those aspects is that Tyler Conklin, to me, is going to ball out this year, top 5, potentially at worst top 10 tight end in the NFL. Now, he hasn't started off too strong. Do you think Tyler Conklin right now is just adjusting to the new team, or do you think potentially becoming that primary target as a tight end is kind of like too much for him to handle?
I think he's just adjusting right now because last year with Minnesota, it was a bit of a different type of offense. So him being in an offense where the tight ends are valued a little more, I think he's gonna get some good play and probably be, like you said, top 10 at worst.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I saw a lot of individuals already starting the tournament. Us as Jets fans, we're an emotional fan base, very passionate. You know what I'm saying? We literally keep our emotions exposed on our sleeves. And I see a lot of you are wondering, like, man, maybe Tyler Conklin was a freaking waste of money. I'm already starting to see those tweets coming out, those posts on Facebook and on Instagram. And, of course, I get it. You know what I'm saying? The fumble, that was, of course, recovered by Max Mitchell this past game, which was pretty awesome. And he had a fumble as well in week 1. And which is also uncharacteristic of him. This guy has some of the surest hands in the NFL, and fumbling has not been an issue. So I'm trying to understand where or why it's become an issue for him now. How do you feel about the fact that, of course, CJ Uzomah, hopefully he gets better, he's hurt, but we didn't see Ruckert actually get much playing time. And then the one time we saw him get out there, he looked a little bit confused, and they pulled him almost immediately, and we didn't see much of him after that. How do you feel about Jeremy Ruckert in this tight end room?
Ruckert's a guy I liked originally with the pick, a hometown guy. I really liked the idea of him being a tight end in this tight end room, but, he looked dazed and confused out there. So I think just him being, from his standpoint, when CJ comes back, he's a tight end 3, and he has to play like one.
Okay. All right. We got a question, from Bradley. He asked if we're worried about Conklin's drop and Zach's ability to stay healthy moving forward. I'll let you answer that question first. How do you feel about Conklin's drops and his ability to go ahead and Zach's ability to stay healthy moving forward?
Conklin's drops have been a problem, but, that's something that can be straightened out, and once it is, I think it's going to be good for him. It's gonna be very, very great. But Zach's ability to stay healthy, you saw last year he got hurt, in the preseason, obviously, so it's a concern. But if he manages to stay healthy, I think he could be a good QB.
Okay. All right. In terms of the Steelers, so now we're in the AFC East, right? Oh, I'm going to answer that question too, Bradley. But I want to ask the Little Jets Oracle question real quick. Now, in terms of the AFC East, we actually have a couple of quarterbacks that people would say are pretty good. We got Josh Allen, we got Mac Jones with the Patriots, and we got Tua Tagovailoa. We got Tua, with Miami. So in terms of that quarterback, like Curacao, where do you see the Jets stacking up with, say, a Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson. I mean, like you said, the guys in the AFC East, they're all young guys. Mac Jones to Josh Allen, all relatively young. So Zach, I mean, it's going to be a hard competition between those guys, but I think at his full potential, he could be better than Mac Jones. And then Tua has shown a good game last week, but that's just not 100% sure if he is the one. He's
Okay.
shown many problems for Miami, so.
Okay, fair enough. So I'm gonna answer the question first, and I'll give you my take on it. So in terms of Conklin's drops, I'm not worried about it. I do believe that this is an anomaly. In the same aspect of, I'm not comparing the two by any means. I'm not saying he's no Jamar Chase, but a lot of us had concerns about Jamar Chase last year in training camp. He had a case of the drops in the preseason, had a case of the drops, and wasn't an issue for him in college either. But then we saw it in the pros, and we thought, oh man, maybe the game's a little different for him. And we saw when game time mattered, like he hit running. So Conklin wasn't an issue for him last year, as a Viking. Wasn't an issue during preseason or in training camp. And it's happening right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and just going to assume right now it's just a matter of him adjusting. I do believe that they have him doing a lot more than he's ever had to do in the tight end position. He's not just a receiving weapon, but they're asking him to block. And again, this scheme is a very complicated one. Not just a receiving weapon, but they're asking him to block. And again, this scheme is a very complicated one. Like, he has to understand complex route schemes, and maybe he's thinking too much vice just playing football. And I think, a couple more games, a couple more reps, we should see that change relatively quickly. In terms of Zach's ability to stay healthy, man, like, it is concerning, right? Like, we're talking about 2 years in a row, your quarterback goes down, this time in the preseason in the non-contact drill, after having heard nothing but praise about his performance in training camp and, of course, in preseason. And hey, what up, Dark Soldier? How you doing, man? Welcome. Appreciate you for showing up. And it's one of those things where you got to be concerned about it, right? Because your quarterback missing games, it's never good for him. It's not good for the fans, for the organization to evaluate him. Are we 2-0 right now if Zach Wilson's the quarterback? Are we 0-2 if Zach Wilson's the quarterback? We don't know, and we won't know until he gets back out there. So in terms of Zach Wilson staying healthy, I am a bit concerned. Now, I'm not saying wipe the board, start all over kind of concern. But, a non-contact injury while he's cutting in a preseason game, like, is it an anomaly or is it the norm? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to kind of figure that part out. But I'm not too worried about Zach in terms of health. Kid's young. And I honestly believe, like, if we asked him to play freaking season opener, like, he would have been ready to go. The Jets are definitely going to be more cautious with him, and I'm 100% okay with that. I would rather have him out there, at 100%, vice not. Now, in terms of the gauntlet of quarterbacks in the AFC East, where do I feel we rank as an organization? Listen, Josh Allen's a freak. He's a freak, man. Like, I'm not going to pretend like he's not. I'm not going to sit there and be that Jets fan that says, like, oh, he's this. No, that guy's a freak, right? He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can take a hit. He can throw the ball. He's improved his accuracy dramatically. I do believe, getting weapons around him has been a huge benefit. The same way I believe us doing the same thing for Zach Wilson is going to be a huge benefit. I think Mac Jones, of all the quarterbacks, is the most limited. I think we saw the peak of Mac Jones last year, and as we got more tape on that kid, you realize real quickly that the NFL game might be a little bit too fast for him. High IQ guy, but he's got a very limited arm talent. Now, Tua, I think, is talented, but also limited. He's your perennial game manager. I think that the Miami Dolphins roster right now, if I'm being honest, is the second best roster in the AFC East. I'm sorry, the second best proven roster in the AFC East. And their weak point is, in fact, Tua. I think Tua is going to be the limitation that potentially craters what those guys can accomplish while they're still in a good position, because a lot of those contracts are going to start coming due, and all those great talents you have at some point are going to have to go elsewhere because the cap is the cap. In the same token, I think Buffalo's in the same boat, right? So I think Buffalo right now, they're a stacked roster, stacked full of veterans, a lot of pricey contracts. I'm willing to bet that when they have to actually pay, their quarterbacks, they cannot afford to maintain these rosters. And we're talking about what, 2 years, 3 years max? Whereas the New York Jets, in this entire AFC East, we have probably the youngest, most talented nucleus of weapons that allows us to go ahead and grow the right way. So we're able to go ahead and see this team, only getting better and growing at a much cheaper price than the competition. So in terms of where we stack up in the AFC, we got to give it, by a mile right now to the Buffalo Bills. I think the Buffalo Bills, I'm not saying they're unbeatable. They are definitely beatable. But watching them play these last 2 games, you're seeing an organization that looks like they're on a rampage. Like, they're upset about the missed freaking flip of a coin at the AFC, at the AFC Championship game last year. Like, they're mad, right? They're mad. And I've been saying it all along. If they get that coin toss, the Buffalo Bills go to the Super Bowl, and I think they win it. Like, I really believe if they get that coin toss right, they go to the Super Bowl, and I think they win it. So I think they believe that as well, man. And they're going to run through this NFL right now like it's a gauntlet. And after that, without having seen Zach Wilson thus far, this year, I got to be real with myself. And I think that, the Miami Dolphins have a step ahead of us. They've come out strong. They're 2-0. They beat the Baltimore Ravens convincingly over the weekend. Now, again, it's one performance by Tua. I'm not putting him in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. He had a really good performance, but respect is earned in this game, and you get the respect by winning. They're winning. So at 2-0, I'll give them that slight edge right now, only because we haven't seen our boy Zach Wilson throw on the pads and throw live rounds. So I'm going to go with, it's Josh Allen, Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and I think right now the Patriots have become the new bottom feeder of the AFC East. So what are some of your score predictions you think for this game this week against the Bengals?
I think it's going to be, high scoring game again, because the defense last week, kind of got beat. Yeah. And, Joe Mixon, a good running back. They got Jamar Chase. I think, if we want to win this game, our offense is going to have to keep up with theirs. Okay. So maybe if I were to take a guess, probably I think we come out 27-24.
27-24. Okay. All right. I can see that. So you got the Jets winning it 27-24. So by a field goal. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Jets win it? All right. I too have the Jets winning the game. I got the Jets winning the game. I got it as a 34-31 score for the Jets. I think that it's going to be a high scoring game as well. I think right now our offense has kind of gathered their wind a little bit. Their ability to move the ball was obvious. I don't think any team right now potentially has an answer for all of our wide receivers. There's just no team that does. We've gone up against 2 Pro Bowl caliber secondaries thus far, and we've seen both Garrett Wilson and freaking Elijah Moore get open at will against both. So I don't believe there's going to be a secondary in this league that can potentially keep up with both of those guys. It's just going to be pick your poison. Who are you going to go ahead and target? Who are you going to go ahead and risk it all on? And with that said, I do believe we're going to go ahead and see improvement in terms of points scored, more efficiency. Joe Flacco looked like he was comfortable in the pocket this past weekend, and for me to say that against the defensive line of the Cleveland Browns only leads me to believe that he could potentially feel the same way against the Bengals. Their defensive line, I don't believe is at the same caliber of a defensive line as the Browns. So I'm going to pick that 34-31 Jets victory this Sunday. Now, if our defense decides to show up, our defensive line specifically, to go ahead and dominate that matchup, we can see this being a game that gets away from the Bengals by the second half. Like, at the end of the day, Joe Burrow, as talented as he is, Jamar Chase, as talented as he is, T. Higgins, as talented as he is, Joe Mixon, it doesn't matter if the quarterback has no time to go ahead and run the play. That's just a fact. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yep.
All right. Let's see if I missed anything here. I don't see. No, no. Okay. All right. So you said before that you felt that we had a prediction for the Jets of you said 9-8 win, 9-8.
Yeah.
While I have you on here, man, how about you break down for me where you see some of these wins coming from?
Right now, 1-1. I think next week, we can get that win. Um, I believe we play the Jaguars.
Steelers
Uh,
after that.
yeah, yeah. Steelers. I think they've been struggling recently. And then there's a few. I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, but I know
Okay.
there's teams that we can probably just get the edge off.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I've been saying it. I've been saying it for a while now myself, man. I've been saying that 9-8, even before Zach got hurt, was potentially going to be I'm sorry, was my ceiling for the team. My floor is 7 wins. But I have also been saying that I can see them sneaking in. A 10th win. And I'll say this: I did not have the Jets beating the Browns. I did have them beating the Ravens, and I didn't have them originally beating the Bengals. Now, if the Jets pull off this win against the Bengals, which is looking like, the matchup is going to be pretty even based off of, how they've started off and how they're struggling right now at the offensive line, that's a win that I didn't account for. That could potentially be that 10th win. And like you said, man, the Steelers next week, again, my brother is a Steelers fan. And, he'll be the first to tell you, like, how upset he was when he saw T.J. Watt go down. And I told him, like, man, look, T.J. Watt's a beast. And I'll root for the Steelers all day as long as they ain't playing the Jets, right? Because at the end of the day, they're in the AFC, so I'll root for them when they're not playing us. And if it comes down to, playoffs, whatnot, I'm obviously going to root against them. In this situation, having the same schedule could potentially become a decision maker. And I'm all about us taking a win from the Steelers if that becomes the issue down the road. And I think with the loss of T.J. Watt, their offense right now is still trying to figure it out. It's just a matter of time before they possibly bring Pickett in because, again, seeing my brother freaking upset on Sunday. We watched the game here at my house. I was here in my office. He was watching his game in the living room. And to lose to the Patriots because of the amount of errors that, derived from the offensive side of the ball, I know he's frustrated. So I think right now with the team right now trying to figure out, the quarterback situation, they just lost T.J. Watt for the next 6 weeks. We have we have a shot. We have a shot, and all you can ask for in this league is a shot. And I think Coach Salah said it beautifully that if you crack the door open just a little bit, they were able to go ahead and knock that thing open and get the W this week. So I can see us legitimately, man, like leaving the month of September 3-1. Call me insane. Maybe it's hyperbole. I'm being an optimistic Jets fan, but when you look at the matchups, man, like it's almost as if the football gods have kind of put some favorable matchups here for us to face up against. So what do you think the month of September looks like for us in terms of record?
I think I'm right with you on 3-1 because like you said, the Steelers, T.J. Watt is basically their team. They rely off of T.J. Watt, because with no T.J. Watt, they struggled. They really did struggle against a Patriots offense they're not the greatest offense in the league. I'll say that.
Nope.
They're not that great. Their receiver core is weak. Damian Harris is not a top 5 running back. They don't have much of anything, and to allow them to beat them is just they really miss T.J. Watt. But
yeah, I don't think you can replace a guy like T.J. Watt. That's the crazy part, man. T.J. Watt is somebody who, like, I'm not gonna lie, he's a top. I think he's a top freaking 3 player in the league, like across the board. Defensively, I know that Aaron Donald and him go back and forth, but I think that he potentially beats him, not just because he's able to go ahead and beat you in so many ways. He's got that youth to him, and up until this point, he's remained relatively healthy. That's a huge loss, man. That's a huge loss. We have a shot at every team. Heart goes a long way. I like that. So Dark Soldier just left us a comment. He said that we have a shot at every team. Heart goes a long way. And And you can't argue that. Like, you can't argue that. This past week proved that heart goes a long way. I think there was some graphics that kind of came out, what I'm saying, during the game after Nick Chubb had scored the touchdown, stating, oh, man, New York Jets lose. They had lost the game, right? And I was just like, man. And, of course, we all felt it. Every Jets fan felt it. We were all like, man, there it goes. Is what it is. And they had already deemed this is the first time the freaking Browns have gone 2-0 since like 1993 or something like that. Like already deemed. I actually got a graphic of it from somebody on Twitter that showed all the freaking like headlines that had came out before the game was over. And the Jets, they played to the clock hit zero, man. Like they played to it was triple zeros. And that's what you got to do in this league. If you have heart, if you're willing to push through, anything can happen. So, yeah, good point, Dark Soldier. In this case, as long as you got the heart, you're in any game. And the talent difference, man, people don't believe that when they say it. The talent difference in the NFL is not as massive as people think. A lot of it is about, coaching, players believing in the scheme. Like the scheme, like it's a lot of intricate pieces that go ahead and dissipate that talent across the board. But these guys are playing at the professional level because they've outperformed one way or another other individuals who've dedicated a lifetime to this sport. I'll be the first to admit, a lot of times it's not just about how hard you work, but genetics plays a good aspect of it. These guys right now in the NFL have the genetics to play at that pro level, and that's why they're there in comparison to other individuals who bust their butt nonstop and haven't arrived there. So heart goes a long way, man. Like it all depends on how badly does an individual want it. We got a question. Are we going to the playoffs? Do you think the Jets make the playoff this year?
I think, if we could get that 10th win, there's, a chance we could get that wild card spot. There's a high chance. We play well to the very last week. I think we have a solid shot at it.
Yeah, in all actuality, man, I agree. I think that there's some teams right now in the AFC that were considered locks potentially to make it to the playoffs, right? We've got the Raiders, the Bengals, who were specific locks to go ahead and make it at least to the playoffs, and they're both 0-2 right now. A wild card spot is not out of the question. It's not out of the question at all. It's just a matter of, again, stacking wins, right? We won this past week, celebrate, boom, stack the next one. As we continue to stack those wins, next thing you know, we're in November, December, and we're in the hunt, right? Be in the hunt, because at the end of the day, you never know what can transpire when it's December and everybody's chasing that last or those last couple of playoff spots. So to say that we're going to the playoffs, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to say, oh man, we're playoff bound, right? But what I'm saying is, why not us? Nobody thought the Bengals were going to make it to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl last year. Who the heck thought that was going to happen last year? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. So a Cinderella story happens every single year, man. You see it. Somebody that's not supposed to win or arrive, and they arrive just a little bit sooner than everybody anticipated. So for me, I'm the one to believe that, yes, it could be the Jets just as anybody else. But for me I'm not going to mandate a playoff appearance for this to be a successful season. I still believe we need to go ahead and be above 500 based off of the level of talent that we've got. I'm a big believer in the Shanahan system, and you see how this thing can make it easy for quarterbacks and players to pad stats and score points. And we put a lot of money and effort into this defense as well. So I do believe that at the very least, man, we should be a 500 team. But it wouldn't surprise me if we made the playoffs. So Bradley hits us with, hold on, the wide receiver core is not weak. It's the O-line and the OC. I don't think I said they were weak. Did you say they were weak? Hey.
No.
Nah, I definitely said. I think right now that I said
we're speaking of the safeties and the line.
Yeah. I don't think I said the wide receivers, Bradley. Right now I stated that the fact that the quarterback right now play is suspect. It's mid, and the loss of T.J. Watt is going to be a huge impact as well. So. I'm not sure. I got to go back and watch the tape, I guess. I'm not sure if I mentioned weakness when it came to the wide receivers. And if I did, not what I meant. I meant to say the quarterback play right now is up in the air, and the loss of T.J. Watt, you cannot replace a T.J. Watt. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't. All right. The player said they will definitely win the game if they got the onside kick. No, he's right. Okay, so I don't know if this is just me. So I was watching the game, right? And whenever I saw us get the onside kick, I immediately went to optimistic, positive Jets fan mode. I went from, oh man, we're probably gonna lose this game to, oh crap, we just, got the onside kick. And I immediately went to, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. Because purely based off of the fact that the kicker missed the extra point and we got the onside kick, which does not happen with today's NFL rules. Like, it's almost impossible to get an onside kick, and we got that. And I said to myself, wow, the easy play to freaking Corey Davis for the touchdown, the missed freaking extra point attempt, and now we get the onside kick. Okay, I see you, football gods. It's our time to shine. So I've also said, like, man, this is an opportunity for us to win here, and I think this is it. We're going to get a W. And the players believing that means so much more than the fans believing that. Right, the players being in that situation, understanding the assignment. I saw an awesome video, man. I wish I had it. I would share it. But as somebody on Twitter as everybody else was, clamoring around how they got the onside kick, you saw Garrett Wilson on the sideline just celebrating, losing his mind. Elijah Moore, as he witnessed them, like the ball was the Jets, my man grabbed his helmet, put it on, and walked out to the middle of the field. Constant professional. He was like, it's time to work. And that tells you all you need to know. We've got a young core, and a lot of times when you think about a young core, you think about the lack of maturity. But with these guys, you've got a young core of professionals who understand the assignment, and they're hungry and competitive to win. 100%, man. Like, they knew when they got that onside kick they were going to win it, and they executed. Dark Soldier with the he stated that no team that was 0-2 made the playoffs last year. Is that accurate? No team that was 0-2. I mean, I know it's difficult. I know it changes the dynamic. I think the percentages significantly drop once you go down 0-2. And if you're in the AFC, good luck, right? The AFC, I think, is significantly more difficult than the NFC. And so 0-2 doesn't usually, especially in the AFC, resonate with a playoff berth. But I don't know for sure, man. But I know you know your stuff, Dark Soldier. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep that up. So no team that was 0-2 made the playoffs last year. So with that thought process, you would think that means we've already mathematically eliminated the Raiders and the Bengals. Two teams that made the playoffs last year. One of them made the Super Bowl last year, which means now two teams have to replace those guys. So I know you're gonna say the Jets. So other than the Jets, who would you say would be the other playoff team in the AFC? Another team in the AFC that potentially makes the playoffs this year that most people aren't anticipating?
Dolphins. I would say the Dolphins because they didn't make it. I think it was the year prior. They were the year prior to last year. They were 10-6 and missed playoffs. They've shown that with new coach Mike McDaniel. I think. I think they could get in.
It's great. I can't argue with you there, bro. Like, legitimately, my mind went the same place. I think that right now, because again, the roster is uber talented. And they finished on a high note last year, man. They won 8 straight, you know what I'm saying, to end the season. So again, it showed the level of talent that team had. Now you bring in a guy like a Mike McDaniel, who, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. When I thought he wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? The hipster coach approach thing kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, I don't think this is gonna work at this level in the NFL. But hey, man, like the team loves him, his players love him, and they've won 2 games now. They're 2-0. So maybe he has a formula that me thinking not outside the box potentially doesn't work well for me, but it works for the Miami Dolphins. But that team is talented enough, I think, to go ahead and sneak in, man. And it wouldn't surprise me if. So could you imagine? Could you imagine if the AFC East wind up being the AFC division that had 3 teams make the playoffs? Like, how insane would that be?
I wouldn't be surprised. They have very talented rosters.
Very talented rosters. I'm trying to think of any possible. Nah, because Baltimore right now is they're shocking me in regards to how they're playing. The Bengals. I mean, really,
the Broncos, if they play well enough, the Broncos could.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up, man. So the Broncos were somebody that I originally as well pegged as making it into the playoffs. They're in that stacked AFC West division, and It's a stacked division, man. So okay, so if the Broncos make it, do you have a prediction? Do you have predictions on who potentially makes it into the playoffs for the AFC? I'm sorry, from the AFC.
I really don't, but there's a
Right.
lot of teams that could. But it's just process of elimination. Because you got that stacked division: Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, Broncos. There's only a few of those teams that can really make the playoffs, and
Facts.
they're all very good, but only so many of them can make it.
Yeah, well, again, based off of Dark Soldier just said that it was Bill Cowher who made that statement. So again, based off of last year's numbers of 0-2, you would think the Raiders are automatically out. So the Raiders are automatically out, and if that's the case, you got the Broncos. I mean, the Chiefs. Let's be honest, the Chiefs are in. The Chiefs are going to the playoffs. I think the Chargers. Now, the Justin Herbert situation is kind of surprising because I think Justin Herbert's definitely a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. So, depending upon how severe the injury is, do you think that team is talented enough to go ahead and potentially still be a playoff team?
I really believe so because the Chargers are a great team. Really, when you look at it, they got a lot of pieces on the defensive side, and very, very likely if
Okay.
Herbert stays healthy.
I know Keenan Allen just got that injury. I don't know how long he's out for, so I know that
Mhm.
that's a huge blow, right? Because I know I have him in fantasy, and he's sitting on my IR spot right now. So I mean, the AFC is just so stacked, man. So stacked. Like unless of course you're in the AFC South, where it's just a joke across the board. Uh, it's crazy to me because somebody in the AFC South is going to probably make the playoffs with a 500 record or below. That division is just atrocious, just absolutely atrocious. But yeah, man, we're coming to an end to our time. Hey, what up, Blitz BK, man? Appreciate you for hopping on. Listen, man. The Little Jets Oracle. I appreciate your time, bro. I know it's a school night. I appreciate, what I'm saying, Jen and Chad for letting me borrow you for the evening, man, for us to go ahead and talk Jets. So you're predicting a win for this weekend. I'm predicting a win for this weekend. Now it's just all about the Jets freaking coming through and manifesting it. So go ahead and plug your Instagram and whatnot, so where everybody can follow you at.
So Instagram _Lil Jets Oracle. I'm probably going to be posting more content. I used to post a lot of Jets stuff, but going forward, follow the account and I'll be posting Jets stuff.
Hey, while I still got you, I was told for you to tell us the story about the barbershop. You remember the story about the barbershop?
Oh, my dad. So it was like 2-3 years ago, and there was this guy, and he's trying to talk football and stuff. I just got back from a football game, and he's trying to talk football, and he has no idea what he's talking about. And I'm just correcting him as he's talking to people, and he's like, it's so crazy because, I know more than him. He's just saying ridiculous stuff that makes absolutely no sense, and everyone's just, it was hilarious. Everyone was like clowning on him,
Right.
and yeah.
Your dad told the story, man. He's a lot more freaking animated than you are. Because I was sitting there listening. I'm like, you encounter a lot of people, right? And that's fine, right? There's a lot of people that are Jets fans that they support the team. That doesn't take away, but they don't have the historical knowledge, or they don't go in depth of knowing, like, what I'm saying, who the special teams players are, etc. I know you're a big, advocate of that, and knowing the roster in and out, man. So it's just kind of impressive, man, to be at your age to have that plethora of knowledge. 'Cause I ain't gonna lie to you, when I was your age, I did not have the plethora of knowledge about the team that you do. So good on you, man. Like I'm hoping to have you back on again, dog. As long as you're down for it, I'd love to have you back on again. Mm-hmm. It seems like you were very receptive to the entire crowd, the people that showed up today. So again, I appreciate you. I'm already following you. As always, go Jets. And everybody, thank you for showing up, spending some time with me tonight. Hope you enjoyed the taco recipe. I assure you, if you try that recipe, you are not going to regret it. It's delicious, and it's pretty simple as well. Yeah, if you have any questions about it, leave it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer. As always, go Jets. And this has been Taco Tuesday with Gunny. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.